My parents are African, and like many African parents worldwide, they are overly strict about many things in life, education being one of them. My whole life has been filled with expectations and pressure from my parents that I should be doing well academically. Outside of that, they are also just strict in general. For instance, if I wanted to go out with friends, I shouldn't even bother trying to go out if it's past 7 p.m. They would never let me go out at night with them, even though I'm 21. They would also physically abuse me and my siblings by beating us with belts, chargers, and outlet cables, sometimes putting very spicy pepper on our lips or on our private parts. Of course, my parents have done enough for us financially and given us more or less everything we've wanted, but the negatives, I would say, outweigh the positives. I had an older sister who died due to illnesses when I was a kid, and I know that traumatized them, especially my mom. That, plus many other factors, makes my mom one of the most difficult people to be around and to talk to. My dad grew up poor and an orphan and struggled to become who he is today. That's why now, to him, the main priorities in life are safety and education. The problem is, with us kids, he takes it way too far. So now, I have a girlfriend whom I love more than anything in this world. I've known her since we were teenagers, but we have been dating for almost 6 months. As you could expect, my parents don't know she exists. Again, I'm 21. The last time I introduced a girl to my parents, it didn't end well, and my mom almost didn't talk to me for a full year. I was more or less disowned by her because my ex's parents were having a little conflict with my mom. But regardless, it was bad when I told my parents I had a girlfriend. For some more context, I'm in university, and technically, if I had passed all my classes the first time, I should have graduated this past summer. But I failed so many, and now I need to do an extra 2 years of my studies. There were many influences as to why this happened, but a main reason was because of my parents and the way I was treated, as well as the things said to me by them after I introduced my girlfriend. That wasn't the only reason they treated me badly, but it definitely started there. There was a period of time where, because of my parents, I got so low in life that I felt suicidal, and I almost acted on those feelings. But I had friends who encouraged me and helped me, my current girlfriend being one of them. My parents don't know about those negative feelings, but things were not good for me, and it all started because I introduced a girl from my Jehovah's Witness congregation. My dad, after I did that, called me and spoke to me for so long about how I should prioritize my education. He said that if I passed all my classes and graduated on time, who would care if I had a girlfriend or not? But I failed, and because of that, I shouldn't be having a girlfriend right now. He emphasized that so clearly to me. My mom feels the same way. The same goes for a job. I should work since I get an allowance, which isn't enough for me. So for a while, they made it clear that I shouldn't have a girlfriend. However, it's not that I was actively looking for one, but my current girlfriend, who is not a Jehovah's Witness, came into my life and changed it forever. I love this girl so much that if I don't marry her one day, I will know I haven't lived my life to the fullest. She is the kindest, most caring person and so beautiful as well. Unfortunately, my parents don't know she exists because of everything that went down last time. I've met my girlfriend's family, and they love me, but she can't say the same about mine because they don't know she exists. Because they don't know about her. Every time I go out with her, it's like I'm always on the lookout in case I see someone I may know who knows my parents, like people from my Jehovah's Witness congregation. They would tell on me in a heartbeat, which is why I need to leave their organization. Or in case I see my mom out in town or somewhere else. This makes my girlfriend very uncomfortable, and it makes me uncomfortable too, because we can't fully be ourselves except for when I go to her home and we're indoors. I more often than not have to lie to my parents about where I am just so I can go out with my girlfriend, and it's difficult for both of us. My compatibility with her is too good, but all the problems we've faced in our relationship stem from the fact that my parents don't know about her. I've had to cancel dates and plans we've made together because my parents expect me to be somewhere else and do something else. This hurts so much. I told my girlfriend about my parents and how my relationship with them isn't the best, and how they've been treating me and my siblings, and how their way of thinking can be concerning. For instance, not too long ago, I showered like a normal person using the shower head. When my dad found out, he got mad, yelled at me, and threatened to kick me out of the house. He said we should use a bucket to shower, which I don't know why, but Africans do that a lot. But he did all that and said things I didn't like just for using a shower head. So imagine what he will say or do when he finds out I have a girlfriend again after repeatedly telling me not to have one right now. My girlfriend and I were caught holding hands by someone from my Jehovah's Witness congregation 2 weeks ago, and he came up to me last week and said that I shouldn't be doing that and that I should talk to one of the elders for spiritual help. I'm not going to do that, but my fear is that he will tell others who will then tell my parents. So now, after that happened, my girlfriend and I decided that maybe it's best for my parents to hear it from me directly instead of someone else. So now I'm constructing a big letter, basically calling out my parents for being overly strict and protective, even though the things they say come from a good place with good intentions. How they say it is wrong. I am writing the letter, calling them out for it, and in the process of doing that, telling them I'm going to start working part-time, which will already get them furious, and that I have a girlfriend. Again, I got threatened to be kicked out for using a shower head. I'm scared of what's going to happen when they hear this. Every bad experience I've had with my parents, especially since the last time I told them I had a girlfriend, will just come back tenfold. I might actually get kicked out of the house with no money and no place to stay permanently, and it will almost feel like my life is over. I called one of my friends, and he said that if things go badly, I can always stay at his place until I can fend for myself. I'm going to start working soon. But all of these things scare me because it's so out of the ordinary, and it's just scary because at that point, my relationship with my family will be ruined. But on the flip side, my girlfriend and I can finally have the flourishing relationship we want to have. I won't have to hide her in public in fear that someone will see us because my parents will already know she exists, even though they won't be okay with it. I'll be able to do what I want when I want. It will be freeing, but scary. So now, I'm in a position where I have to choose to either go through with sending the letter to my parents, risk becoming homeless, and ruining whatever little relationship I have left with my parents forever, making me properly disowned in their eyes, but then having an even better relationship with my girlfriend where she isn't hidden, and neither am I in that department. Or I don't say anything. I stay quiet about my girlfriend to my parents for a little while longer until I get better grades at university and use that to prove to my parents that I can have a girlfriend and a job and do well academically, but risk losing my girlfriend, whom I would consider the love of my life and my soulmate, because the longer I keep her hidden, the harder it is for her, and the higher the chance is of me ruining our relationship like that. I talked to my brother and cousin about it, and they said I should not send the letter to my parents because I'm not the only person in the world that wants freedom, and I'm doing too much, and it's not worth losing that relationship with my parents. But they are speaking from their own African child experience and don't realize what I've been through mentally too because of my parents. They say suck it up and move on, but I don't want to. I don't want to have a relationship with my parents anymore, but I'm just scared of how they will react and what they will do once they find out about my girlfriend. I know it will negatively affect my siblings too, because my parents will rant and complain about me to them. And I fear that if I'm not able to find success with a job and my education, one day I'll be forever broke. And I won't have my parents to rely on, since my relationship with them will be non-existent. And then they will say, I told you so. So, if I go through with sending the letter, I need to make sure I end up being a little successful and finding a good paying job for myself, and I need to still be dating my girlfriend and marry her one day. Otherwise, it won't be worth doing all this. My girlfriend said she and her family would support me as much as possible, but I'm still very scared to tell my parents. So please advise me on what to do. Should I tell my parents or not? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. That's what I'm thinking too. Before I turned 18, I thought when I turn 18, my parents will give me the freedom I wanted, and the abuse will stop, and the pressure too, and all of that. That was a lie. I'm 21, and it's still a very similar story. Granted, the abuse to me is less, but to my siblings, it's relatively the same. If I don't stop this now, when I'm 30, they will control me and my children and wife. Who knows? I can't be having that. I'm so scared of what they will say and do to me or my siblings and what my life will be like without their financial support, because I'm so used to it. Like, I really am terrified about it. Like I said, my brother said to suck it up. It's not worth leaving. But if I stay any longer, I'll get suicidal again. And if my girlfriend leaves me because I stay, I'll again feel suicidal. But it's so scary. Now for the update. I'm back with the update on how my strict African parents reacted to me introducing them to my girlfriend. The day after sending the letter, my mom texted me that we needed to talk in person. I was freaking out, obviously. Met them at this diner we used to go to as kids. My dad had that stern look on his face, like he was about to lecture me for not finishing my plate, and my mom looked like she'd just watched a sad movie. They sat across from me, and all I could think was, wow, this place used to be fun. They started right away, asking if I had been dating someone. I said yes, and you could feel the pressure in the room. Not the good kind, either. My mom started going off about how I was wasting my education and future. Like, chill, I'm in school, not failing. Then my dad had to jump in, saying he expected better from me and that I was bringing shame to the family. I mean, come on, Dad. You don't even know my GPA. So I took a deep breath, and for the first time, I said my girlfriend's name, Olivia. My mom gasped like I just told her I was moving to Antarctica, and my dad's face turned red. Like, cartoon red. They demanded to know why I'd kept her a secret, acting all high and mighty about family honor. I tried to explain, but my dad cut me off, saying I was too naive to understand family values. Like, what even are family values in this context? My mom threatened to cut off all financial support if I continued seeing Olivia. Like, damn, lady, I knew I had to tell Olivia about this, so I arranged to meet her at this quiet cafe later. When I got there, she was already waiting, looking all concerned. I mean, who wouldn't be? I told her about the dinner with my parents and how they reacted. She suggested we go out for a while to take my mind off things, so we hit up this arcade nearby. Nothing like some digital violence to clear your head, right? While playing games, I spotted this group from my congregation watching us. They approached, asking what I was doing with someone like her. I felt so embarrassed, but tried to brush it off, saying we were just having fun. They left, but their comments were still stuck in my head like a bad song. That weekend, my parents invited us for family dinner for my sister's birthday. They insisted Olivia join, thinking it'd show how accepting they were. Spoiler alert, they weren't. During dinner, my dad casually brought up my future plans, hinting at my lack of ambition. Like, bro, I have a degree in progress. My mom then asked Olivia about her family, putting her on the spot. Olivia responded confidently, but my mom kept prying, making her uncomfortable. I could feel the tension in the room get thicker. My mom compared Olivia to my brother's wife, which wasn't cool. My brother Jake noticed and tried to lighten the mood with a joke. Olivia laughed, but I could see she was hurt by the comparison. After dinner, I confronted my parents about how they treated Olivia. They just brushed me off, saying they were looking out for me. Frustrated, I decided to take a break from family dinners for a while. I told Olivia I needed space from my parents, but she urged me to work things out. One night, I overheard my parents discussing how they would handle Olivia if I didn't end things. Let's just say it wasn't friendly. So, I decided to confront them again, but this time with Olivia by my side. We arranged a meeting at my parents' house, and I walked in feeling super nervous. My parents were shocked to see us together. I laid out everything: my love for Olivia, my desire for independence, and my refusal to be controlled. They tried to argue, but I stood my ground. My mom broke down, saying I was influenced by the outside world. In the end, they reluctantly agreed to step back, but their disappointment still loomed over us like a dark cloud. I vowed to prove to them that I could be successful on my terms. Over time, I focused on my studies, and Olivia was my biggest cheerleader. I even found a part-time job that helped me gain a bit of independence while I finished my degree. The real win came when I invited my parents to my graduation, with Olivia proudly by my side. They were shocked when they arrived, and I could see the surprise on their faces as I walked across the stage. I graduated with honors, and my parents had to acknowledge my success, even if it was reluctantly. Things are still complicated with my parents. They have accepted Olivia, but I can tell they still have their reservations. They haven't fully let go of trying to influence my life, but I'm learning to stand my ground. I know they'll always be my parents, but I hope one day they'll see things from my perspective without all the baggage. I'll make sure to post an update if anything big happens, though. Edit. My parents eventually accepted Olivia, but they still struggle to understand our choices. They sometimes try to influence our decisions, but I've learned to communicate openly with them. Olivia and I have been together for over a year now, and our relationship is stronger than ever. My parents even came around to the idea of us having different cultural practices. They still have their reservations, but we continue to show them that love and respect can overcome differences. Am I the idiot for cutting off my parents after they questioned my graduation and called my friends to check on me? Background: I was a 4.0 student throughout high school and my first year of university. In my second year, I failed almost all of my engineering classes due to burnout and infection-19. I had to repeat my second year and was too ashamed to tell anyone, so I just isolated myself from all my friends. I spent a lot of time during my remaining second to fourth years alone in my room. I didn't join any of the engineering design clubs or make many connections. Current: I'm a 22-year-old male, recently graduated software engineer, now living at home. My diploma got sent to my old university address, and I was not too eager to correct the mistake because I'm not super proud of graduating without a job. My parents didn't believe that I graduated university since my diploma didn't come in the mail. I tried to explain the old address situation to them, but my word was not enough. They asked multiple times if I actually graduated, and I would say yes, but I could tell they were skeptical. Eventually, after they would ask, I would just start compulsively laughing because the situation felt so messed up that they thought I would lie about graduating university. Of course, this only made them more skeptical as they wondered, why would I laugh about a topic so serious? I then got my diploma shipped back here so they could see it in person, and they now believe me, although I am resentful that it took physical proof to convince them. To play devil's advocate, I believe they were skeptical about my graduating because when I failed courses in my second year, it was out of character for me, and I did not tell them while I was failing until the end of the semester when exams came, springing it up on them. The trust is long gone in this relationship from both sides. I admit that I go through my mom's phone to read her texts and see what she says about me to other people. From her texts, I found out my parents believe that I am autistic and are telling other people as if it's true, despite the fact that I have never even been to a therapist. This makes me very upset, but I am too humiliated to even confront them about this. Part of the reason they believe this is because I avoid all the people they invite over to the house by staying in my room. I graduated 5 months ago and still don't have a job, so I am ashamed and am sick of having conversations where family friends who haven't seen me in a while ask about what I'm doing after university. The last incident that still upsets me happened while I was still at university in my fourth year. I was not responding to their calls, so they began calling my friends to get a hold of me. This was humiliating for me, so I texted them about it, text images attached to post. A few months later, while going through their texts, I saw that they did this on purpose to elicit a response from me, directly from their texts. That must have been embarrassing for him. Once again, to play devil's advocate, they were just worried about me considering what happened in my second year, and I guess were trying to check in on me to see if I was in the same situation because they care. I can see how I contribute to these dynamics with my previous actions. We have not spoken about this incident either, and continue to go on as if it never happened. I'm looking partially to vent but also to figure out how to have a better relationship with my parents going forward because I will be living here until I can find a job. I realize the tone of this post is quite negative, but I am actually quite optimistic about my future career and working consistently to better myself in many areas. But relationships with other people, especially my parents, are still very difficult for me, and I am not making much progress on my own. To be honest, I plan to get therapy once I have the funds. To add, I graduated, but my parents didn't believe me until they saw proof. Now they think I'm autistic. How do I fix this relationship? Now for a few comments before the update. Well, actually, this post did not have any comments. Now for the update. A week after my last update, my parents organized a family dinner to celebrate my dad's promotion at work. Honestly, I was just hoping for a chill evening, but of course that didn't happen. They invited my siblings, Jake and Kate, along with their partners, Rachel and Matt. Typical. Mom cooked a big meal, and the atmosphere felt forced but familiar. You know that kind of vibe where everyone is smiling, but it feels like they've all got knives hidden under the table? Yeah, that was us. During dinner, Dad brought up my graduation again, asking if I had any job interviews lined up. Here we go again, I thought. I mentioned applying for a few positions, but didn't go into detail about how I hadn't heard back. I could see the disappointment written all over their faces. Like, what did they expect? That I'd have a job lined up the day after graduation? Jake chimed in, joking that I should ask my friends for help getting a job since they had connections. Haha, so funny, right? I laughed it off, but I noticed Kate rolled her eyes at Jake's comment. At least someone gets it. After dinner, Dad suggested everyone play a board game, something we hadn't done in years. It felt like a desperate attempt to bring us all together, but whatever. I was in for the long haul. While setting up the game, Mom casually mentioned that it would be nice to have a family photo to remember the occasion. Oh boy, I could already feel the awkwardness creeping in. She insisted we all gather on the couch for a picture, which felt awkward and staged. I stood at the back, trying to blend in, but Mom kept pushing me forward to the front. Like, no, I don't want to be in the spotlight right now. During the photo, I noticed my parents whispering to each other, glancing my way, which made me uncomfortable. Here we go. After the picture, Jake made a comment about how I should be more outgoing, and I shrugged it off. Seriously, how many times are we going to have this conversation? Rachel, trying to lighten the mood, asked me about my plans for the future, and I felt pressure to respond. I mumbled something about finding a job, and she smiled but didn't push it further. Good call, Rachel. Later that night, while everyone was busy playing the game, I overheard Mom telling Dad about her concerns regarding my social skills. I decided to leave the living room and sat on the porch to get some air. Kate found me and asked if I was okay, but I didn't want to discuss anything. I mean, what was I supposed to say? Oh yeah, just dealing with my parents questioning my entire existence. How about you? Later, the game ended, and everyone came outside for fresh air, still buzzing from the competition. Dad jokingly asked if I was planning on moving out soon, which felt like a jab rather than a question. Like, thanks for the reminder that I'm a 22-year-old still living at home. I laughed it off, but the air felt thick. After everyone left, I overheard Mom and Dad discussing their hopes for my future. Dad mentioned wanting to help me get an internship. Isn't that sweet? Can't even find my own internship. I went back inside and found my diploma sitting on the coffee table, a reminder of my struggles, just what I needed. The next day, I got a text from Rachel asking if I wanted to meet for coffee to chat about job opportunities. I hesitated, knowing how much I disliked talking about my situation, but I agreed to meet. I mean, what was I going to say? No thanks, I'd rather sit at home and wallow in my own misery. At the coffee shop, we discussed potential job leads, and she suggested working with her company for a summer internship. It sounded decent, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to jump into anything yet. A few days later, Mom approached me about attending a family therapy session to improve our communication. I quickly said no, feeling it was unnecessary and didn't want to confront those issues. I mean, what good would that do? That evening, I found myself scrolling through job listings, feeling stuck. I learned that Jake and Rachel were moving into a new house together. You know, just living the dream and all that. As the week ended, I decided to take a step back from family interactions to focus on myself and my job search. I was done with all the questions and forced conversations. I texted Rachel, thanking her for the coffee, but said I needed time to figure things out. She was understanding, which I appreciated, but it still felt like I was constantly trying to escape this web of concern and judgment. To answer a few questions, my parents' concerns stemmed from their belief that my social struggles were due to being on the autism spectrum. They think therapy would help improve our communication. My siblings, while occasionally supportive, often make light of my situation, adding to my frustration and discomfort at home. Am I the idiot for unlocking my boyfriend's phone and confronting him about his sketchy chats? I normally never see his phone because I had full trust in him, but yesterday we were outside to eat some food. When he was going to the front desk to order, he was adamant about taking his phone with him and was being suspicious. But I did not give him his phone, and at last he gave up and went to order. My fingerprint is saved, so I unlocked his phone and went through his WhatsApp chats. I found his chat with an ex-crush of his. We were not together for around 6 months in the middle. He said at that time he developed a new crush on that girl, but he said that he stopped talking to her now. I was shocked. I never knew they were chatting. They were chatting very closely, which he would have never approved if I did the same, and did not seem like just friends. When I asked about it, he said that one of his friends took his WhatsApp account and talked to that girl in this way, and it's not him that chatted with her. When he called that friend on speaker, his friend was clueless about what my boyfriend was talking about. After my boyfriend asked his friend many times, his friend gave in and said, yes, he had chatted with her. I don't believe him because he and I both text each other every day, and I for sure know his chatting style. When I said to him that it seemed just like him with the word usage and stuff, he said that his friend deliberately wanted to sound like my boyfriend while talking to that girl. Even if I think that's true, why would he give his WhatsApp account to a friend that he is not even close to after having me and his chat in that account and many personal and work-related matters? He keeps begging me and saying it was not him, which I don't want to believe. I'm heartbroken. I want to believe him and give him a chance, but I don't think I can. He is not even being truthful about cheating, and he is not even giving me the closure that I at least deserve after being in a relationship for 7 years. I was with him since I was 13. It feels like my whole life I was with him, and I don't know what to do now. I don't think I'll be able to move on from this incident. Please help me. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He won't even admit he cheated or take accountability. Why do you think he won't do it again? This man is pathetic. He won't even own up to what he did, is blaming everyone else, and is now getting on his knees to try and do the bare minimum to keep you around. You don't have to move on from this. If you stay, you're saying that you can be manipulated and he doesn't have to respect you. Comment 2. He cheated and doesn't even acknowledge it. You are 20 years old and have a lot of life ahead of you. Don't spend that with a cheater. If you allow him back, he will most likely cheat again, because why not when you forgive him? Now, for the update. A few days after the whole confrontation with my ex, I decided I needed some space from him to think clearly. It was a tough decision, but I needed to know what I wanted, so I thought taking a break from the relationship was the best way to do that. I packed a bag and headed over to my friend Mia's apartment for a few nights. I've known Mia since college. She's been my rock through all kinds of stuff. Like when I nearly flunked my art history class, she made me study. Or that time I almost dumped my boyfriend because his cat hated me. She talked me out of that too, but this time I needed her more than ever. Mia's work schedule was crazy busy, but she made an effort to spend some evenings with me. We'd talk, and she'd listen to me spill out all the messy thoughts in my head. One night, we ordered takeout and watched movies, trying to distract ourselves from the reality of the situation. It was nice to just laugh and forget, even if it was just for a little while. During this time, my boyfriend was blowing up my phone with texts. They were mostly apologies and requests to talk. I couldn't deal with them, so I just ignored everything, focusing on my own thoughts and not engaging with the chaos. I needed to protect my peace. After 4 days of this, my boyfriend showed up at Mia's apartment, knocking on the door like crazy. It was early evening, and Mia was making a stir-fry in the kitchen when it happened. I was in the living room, trying to read some book I'd gotten from the library. I heard this loud banging, and Mia went to check it out. I had a feeling it was him, but I wasn't ready to face him, so I stayed put. Mia answered the door and told him I wasn't ready to see him. He pleaded with her, saying he just wanted to clear things up. I heard all of this from the living room, and I was just annoyed. Like, dude, give me some space. Mia eventually let him in the apartment, saying it was better to address this situation. I could tell she was frustrated, and honestly, I was too. But I didn't want him to know where I was staying, so I was glad she played along. They came into the living room, and he started with his apologies again. He said he felt terrible about everything that had happened. He insisted that the messages with the ex-crush were harmless and blown out of proportion. I sat there quietly, listening to him. I wanted to scream and tell him how wrong he was, but I didn't. I just wanted to get through this. We decided it was better to have a calm discussion at a nearby diner rather than deal with all the tension in Mia's apartment. At the diner, he kept trying to hold my hand and look me in the eye, but I wasn't having it. I just wanted to eat my fries and get through this. He brought up how he wanted to prove his commitment to me. Then he suggested we go on a weekend trip together to reconnect. He leaned in closer and asked me to trust him and give him a chance to show that he'd change. I felt sick to my stomach. The thought of being alone with him in a cabin or whatever he had in mind was terrifying. After the diner, he left, saying he hoped I would reconsider. I just nodded and watched him walk away, feeling a mix of emotions. The next day, my parents invited me to their house for dinner. They knew I was having issues with my boyfriend, but they didn't know the details. So when I got there, things were a bit awkward, but normal. My mom was in the kitchen making her famous meatballs and spaghetti, and my dad was watching sports in the living room. During dinner, my mom casually asked about my boyfriend, assuming things were fine. I just nodded and said, "Yeah, things are getting better." She smiled and continued talking about how she and Dad were going to visit my brother next month. After dinner, my dad took me aside and expressed his concern about my happiness. He's always been my biggest supporter, and I could tell he wanted me to be happy more than anything. We had a little heart-to-heart, and I felt better after talking to him. A few days later, my boyfriend texted me again, asking if we could meet up. I was tired of all the back and forth, so we arranged to meet at a local coffee shop where we had our first date. It was a place filled with good memories, but I wasn't sure if we could make any more. I got there early and ordered a caramel macchiato. It was my favorite, and I needed the caffeine. When he arrived, he had a small gift for me, a framed photo from our trip last year. It was a picture of us at the beach, and he said it was a reminder of happier times, hoping to spark some good memories. I didn't know what to say, so I just smiled and thanked him. We talked about our relationship, but honestly, the conversation kept circling back to the ex-crush. He insisted he had severed ties, but I mentioned seeing his social media interactions with her. I knew it was a low blow, but I needed him to know how much this was affecting me. We argued about boundaries, especially regarding past relationships. By the end of the meeting, we agreed to take a break from each other. He left, saying he hoped to hear from me soon. I watched him walk away, and I felt a mix of relief and sadness. I didn't know what the future held for us, but for now, this was what we both needed. Mini update. After returning to my apartment, I realized I needed some time to think things through. So I took a week off work to focus on myself. During this time, my boss noticed I had been distant and offered me a temporary position at the company's branch in London. It felt like the perfect opportunity to escape everything for a bit, so I accepted it. Now, I'm spending a month in London, staying in a small studio apartment. It's been a refreshing change of scenery, and I feel like I'm slowly regaining my sense of self. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.